Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to some more Summertime Render. Episode 15. It has been a while, but when it comes to time travel, well, time has no meaning. Because after all of time happens at the same time. Now that might sound complicated, but it actually makes sense, trust me. Regardless, we are back with episode 15 of Summertime Render. We left off episode 14 with Mr. Shinpei having just gotten sniped, and he didn't even realize. He just literally just opened his eyes, and bam, he's gone back in time. Now, I wonder if he'll actually even figure out the fact that he was sniped, right? Because he literally said something along the lines of, like, how did I die, or whatever, right? So, I don't know what's gonna happen here. I suppose we shall see. Huh? Okay, so I know we're like 30 seconds into the episode, right? But I already have to call bullshit. Now, you might say, Fon, it's been 30 seconds. What could you have possibly called bullshit on 30 seconds in? Okay. When it comes to time travel stories, or any story really, let's be honest here, any story, right? When you set up something to happen in a certain way, one time, when that thing happens again, the next time, it should happen the same way. Make sense? Yeah? What happened to Shadow Ushio appearing out of nowhere? Okay? So, remember that time when they went into the next loop and then Shadow Ushio, like, appeared holding Shinpei's hand? Appeared in front of Hizuru? Remember that? Remember that? Because I do. And it's not like they were holding hands when they died or anything. So, I assumed that at this point, whenever Shinpei would die, that Shadow Ushio would just appear right next to him every single time. Because it's, again, like I said, it's not like they were holding hands that time when they died, but then when she appeared, she was holding hands with Shinpei. So why did that happen that time, but this time she, like, I assume appeared somewhere else? And now that I think about it, that same example again, right? Shadow Ushio appeared out of nowhere in front of Hizuru, right? And I said, oh, she comes back physically? What happens to the version of her that's already in that timeline? Right? Like, what happens to that? Honestly, I hadn't even thought about this, but you see, Shinpei, when he dies, his mind goes back in time, I suppose. Kind of. There is the mark on the hand, I suppose, but, like, I assumed he just goes back to his earlier body. But when we saw Shadow Ushio go back in time with him, and then she appeared out of nowhere, it's not like she is going back to her original version and overriding the memories or whatever, or overriding the mind like Shinpei does. She essentially disappears from the future and then reappears in the present, I guess, in the next loop next to Shinpei. That's what I assumed, but I never even thought about what would happen to the version of her that's already in the past. I would have just assumed that, like, I think it would have made more sense if she just kind of disappeared from the future and then she takes over her shadow in the past. But that's not the case because we literally saw her appear out of nowhere, out of thin air, somewhere where she wasn't in the past, like holding Shinpei's hand at one time in front of Hizuru, right? So I assume that the past version of her, Shadow, just disappears, overwritten by the one that appears from the future. I know it's complicated, but you know, like in that moment when she appears, I assume that the other version of her in the past, that's somewhere in town or wherever she was, just kind of disappeared. Unless I'm missing something, I'm pretty sure that would have needed to happen. So now the question is, to bring it back to the original point, why was she in a different room in this case? But we just established she physically appears, or should appear, next to Shinpei, like the last time, and then her past self should disappear, right? Unless I'm like missing something very critical, maybe I'm not thinking about some sort of piece of the puzzle here, but like, considering the fact that we literally saw her appear out of nowhere in front of Hizuru that one time when they looped, I don't see why that shouldn't have happened this time as well.
やられた。影の気配はなかった。新兵を撃ち抜いた弾は影やない。本物のライフルの弾。ネズさんと距離を置いたのが間違ってた。後ろが気配を探知できる範囲外になってしもてた。俺のミスや。ネズさんがスナイパーとして狙ってることがバレたんや。くそ。俺を直接狙ってくるとばかり。待って、奴らの狙いはしんちゃんの生け捕りのはずちゃうん。
Of course not.
ループするだけやのに、なんで。
Man, Mia's kind of stupid, not gonna lie. The game has changed. It used to be about keeping him alive, but ever since the moment the enemy was also able to loop, now it's about killing him as much as possible.
気づかれたんや。ハイネに。あいつも俺と一緒にループしてるから。言うたろ。ループの視点が遅くなってきてるって。見えるんや。限界が近づいてる。時間の端っこがゆっくりでも確実に崩れてきてる。
Indeed.
このまま同じ時間に殺されたら俺は多分あと1回しかループできやん。
Oh, really? They must have moved up a lot. Like, I mean, a lot.
ここが限界として俺は死ぬたんびにここに戻ります。限界より前には戻れやんので限界イコール視点です。前回の死亡は7時55分頃、今回の視点は6時40分。そこから時間が進んで俺が一定の現在7時20分。限界も前に進んでます。今は俺の歩みより遅いから追いつかれることはないですが、その速度は死ぬたんびに速くなってます。
もし今新平が死ねば次の8周目の視点は。
そうやな。今の感じやとおそらく7時過ぎ頃か。
それついさっきやないか。
そしてまた前回と同じ時間、もしくはもっと早くに殺されてしまえば9周目はないと思う。俺が足踏みしてる間に限界の方が先に行く。
I wouldn't have thought that's how it worked.
観測者の彼が見たのだ。事実だろう。その崖は観測限界、イベントホライズンだ。落ちれば君の死は確定し、後の世界はハイネが見たものが事実として定着するだろう。
ハイネはそのことに気づいて新平さんを殺しに来た。
最悪。
なぜわしは見つかった。
4周目のあの作戦がハイネにバレてたんだと思います。
おそらく私がスキャンされたんだ。4周目の最後のシーンで私は致命傷を負っていた。あそこに至るまでに光線し、記憶を読まれたのだろう。
とは普通に話したり書いたり。でもハイネはテレパシーも使う。
ハイネに接触した影は私たちと同じく疑似ループすると考えていいだろう。
おい待てよ。データはループを持ち越せるんやったな。 奴らにわしのライフルをコピーされとる可能性は。もしコピーされとったら、ここは危険やぞ。
Why would they come back here?
コピー品はプリントした
One
ファ
of
イ
the
ルから離れすぎる
one of the biggest mistakes would be going to places that you've already been, especially if you're trying to stay alive.
と自然に消えるからだいたい半径50メートルほどの中でしかコピー品は存在できやん。
つまり、長距離射程のライフルをコピーしても、50メートルしか弾は飛ばんと。弾が無限になってもそれやったら意味ないな。
この刻印でハイネは俺の居場所も分かってるってことです。ハイネは俺の死を見るために絶対ここに来る。今夜
Now, I'm just gonna accept that, but I would think twice, honestly. Like, if I'm really analyzing this, I would 100% not, like, if I was in this situation myself, I would be like, hell no, that's definitely not enough to be able to come to that conclusion. That Haine can know where he is because of the mark. Because we've literally established the fact that there's probably dozens, if not hundreds, of these shadows spread across everywhere. And the moment one of these shadows catches a glimpse of him, they can just follow him anywhere, basically. Because literally, they can be like little fucking cockroaches hiding inside the shadow itself. Because we've seen them, use their shadow powers, quote unquote, right? They don't have to be controlling a physical body. We've seen the physical body go into the shadow multiple times where they just kind of move inside the shadow, right? Like, we've seen that multiple times now, and they can just do that. So once one of the shadows sees him, they can just like relay that or follow him just out of sight. No problem. So it's like there's, I would say, plenty of other ways for them to find out where he is.
シンペイ、奴ら正面から来るぞ。
ずいぶん大勢でお出ましやな、司令。
君こそ随分お仲間が増えたみたいですね、シンペイ君。
Shinpei君。
みんなの姿が見えやんけど、さてはどっかに隠れてるな。罠か？
一緒にすんな。お前らみたいな卑怯な真似はせん。お互い小細工はやめて、正々堂々と戦おうら。
Huh?
よほど自信があるようですね。
Obvious fake. Too obvious.
ミオちゃん。
はい。
さすがしんちゃん。かっこよすぎ。
Huh?
奴らの狙いは俺の命だ。俺が餌になる。
網代新平。クエン男じゃ。
あの死でとかいう影、やはり弱点がない。無敵か。
急げ。
待て、ミオ。
Uh-oh.
パパたちは私と来て。新平と牛尾はわしらが追う。ミオはあの漁師にとどめをさせ。
はい、わかりました。お母さん。
So what is their plan here?
ここは僕に任せてください。
お願いします。
What's the plan here?
来よったぞ。出番やお前ら。
私の
俺が倒っちゃる。
アホ、お兄ちゃん。すぐ集まって先走るのが悪い癖。
Why would those things follow her? And by that I mean like I suppose maybe they were like somehow I don't know, given to her to control and maybe they only follow one quote-unquote mother, I guess, or like, you know, one master, and there's no like hierarchy.
爆弾みたいに静かにね。
Oh.
左に避けよ。
Oh.
当たるはずの弾が。
Took the bullet, nice.
言うた通りかばったろ。
そうか。こいつ見えてんのか。2秒先にいる僕の動きが。
Man, they are... They are at such a massive disadvantage. Did we ever figure out whether or not Haine needs to kill herself to loop as well? You see, this is kind of what I was saying earlier. I guess maybe Haine didn't know that Tokiko was with them. Or not? I guess that doesn't work.
あの野良、わしとのつながりが切れとる。こんな真似ができんのは。牛を。
Okay.
しかったらここまで来てみ。
おまんの仕業か。
I really want to know now whether or not Haine needs to kill herself to loop as well. Or not. Because the thing is, we can't just think of this time loop thing from Shinpei's point of view. We have to also think about this from Heine's point of view now. Because think about it like this. If Haine dies, let's say, or uses her power to go back into the past via the loop, I don't think Heine's... unless the way she loops is through the mark on Shinpei's arm, I suppose? Maybe that's what... I honestly don't remember. But like... my point was that if she has the power to just loop on purpose, then she could just loop back in time and do things better, like right now. You know, if she fails, she can be like, oh, I'm just gonna loop to earlier and then do this again, but now I know what your plan is and I'm gonna win. So the fact that she can't do this or has not done this makes me think that her looping is based off of what Shinpei's doing. Which means I would assume that it has to do with the mark. Like, the mark follows him, or rather goes with him through time to the earlier point. And so, fucking Haine can kind of, I don't know, synchronize with that. Thus also looping, or something along those lines. I don't know. But my point is that, you know, if Haine were to die here, would she go back in time? Or is her looping based off of what Shinpei's doing? Giant spider. Oh dear. Fair and square my ass.
それで上から俯瞰してるつもり。新平のが上や。
Oil? Gasoline? Yeah, okay. Classic. Have you ever tried to actually... I mean, this is cool and all, but like, let's be honest here. Have you ever actually tried to throw a match? That shit immediately... Like, the fire will immediately go out.
り影は火に弱い。
あいつを殺せば戻るから。
俯瞰するならよそ見は禁物やぞ。ハイネ後ろの敵や。
Okay.
捕まえたで。お前は削
やめて。やめて。消さんとってこの子とこの家族で帰る。みんなずっと一緒なんじゃ。だから消すな。
Too much hesitation, too much yapping. You should have done it immediately. Shit. Well, so much for that.
ですけれどね、君やハーネは情報を次の週に引き継げるんでしょ。それはつまり傷や死を持ち越してまうってことやないですか。シベクが死ぬまでは数分かかりますよ。救助を外しましたからね。むしろちゃんがシンペイ君より先に死ぬ。どうなるか。
What happens if she dies before him? Not much, honestly. I mean... What does happen? I mean, what the fuck?
悪いけど、私は興味ないわ。死ぬつもりらないから。
But that's actually a very good question. What does happen? I would imagine it's just that the future version, this version, would not come to the past.
中に誰かいる。
What the shit?
炎が消えた。
Oxygen?
ハイネ、お前。
Created a vacuum or something?
どないなっとんねん。逃げられた。
こねれば戻りますから。
パパとママは
シンペイ君は致命傷です。あと数分で彼は死んで最後のループが始まるのです。
The fact that he can still move?
いっぱいコピーして疲れただけ。
Or
でも血出てるやない
bulletproof
か。
vest?
お前も絶対痩せ我慢すんなよな。
シンペイ、この血は立体にガラスが当たっただけ。それよりシンペイのが重傷。
防弾チョッキ。
Yeah. I suppose they bought themselves some time now because they won this fight. But the battle, the war, they might have won the battle, but they have not yet won the war.
何を燃やすかは潮が任意に設定し、建物や我々には無害だった。炎は影に有効だった。死でと同化した通常の影は即死。死でに対しても動きを鈍らせる効果があった。しかし、ハイネが体育館の空気をスキャンして消去。真空になった建物内に外気が一気に流れ込み、その隙に逃げられる。
みんな生きてる。これ以上のことってないよ。
そうだな。
後ろ。 来てくれ。
Shadow was you, by the way.
予定通りに
Not the real one, by the way. Just to remind you guys.
確認するぞ牛尾。ハイネとのつながり、そのリンク切ったらほんまに安全なんやな。
ロズとギルはうまくいきました。
ちょっと頭をいじって。要は私と同じにしたらええんよ。今やったらこのまま簡単にとどめさせるけど、ええんやな、ミオ。やって、お姉ちゃん。
No shots.
私の影を仲間に。
Do I think that's a good idea? Probably not. It's one thing to turn these mindless, like baby shadows to be under the control of somebody else, or rather someone whose control they were already under. It's another thing to try to turn a shadow that has already been following the orders of Haine. And once again, this is one of those things where I would assume that maybe Haine only has like some sort of mental telepathic connection that she can use to force a shadow to do something. Like if she gives an order, they have to follow it. However, that doesn't mean that all the shadows that she's in control of are doing all of those things against their will. Like, I would imagine, even if you released Shadow Mio from Heine's direct control, she would still be your enemy. It's just that now Haine can't directly tell Shadow Mio what to do anymore, but she would still be following Haine regardless. I don't think that she would immediately become an ally. I think it would be more likely that she would still try to kill the originals, or rather help Haine make copies of the originals, thus becoming one big happy family. Because, like I said, the shadow versions are not the real ones, right? The shadow versions have their shadow memories as well, I would imagine. But yes, I suppose that was episode 15 of Summertime Render. Definitely an action-packed episode. I'm surprised they actually won that fight, to be honest. It was getting kind of close there, but in the end we, our protagonist and the group of friends managed to pull a victory out of their ass, finally. Just barely. But I suppose this bought them some time. I actually, if you asked me, do I think this whole, converting Shadow Mio into, or freeing Shadow Mio from the control of Haine, is this like a good idea? Or by good idea, I mean like, is this a good idea in terms of the story? No. I don't actually think this is a good idea in terms of the story, in terms of making it seem as if all the shadows would be fine with just like joining them if they were freed from Heine's control. It's like, I don't think that's gonna happen. Not to mention, we already established the fact that the shadows have an inherent need and want to kill the original. They will die eventually if they don't manage to kill the original. Or I believe it was like they lose the data or something. They lose the data after a while if they haven't killed the original. If they haven't erased the original. So that Shadow Mio that you might, get on your side, she'll just fucking die. Or she'll try to inherently, because they have a need, like an instinctual need to kill the original. I mean, you're just inviting an assassin into your midst. So I don't really see what the point of just not killing the Shadow Mio is. Not to mention also, before we even leave this topic, if they are like going to talk about like, oh, let's have Shadow Mio join us, what about all those other shadows that they just straight up just killed? If they're gonna say that, oh, Shadow Mio can join us because she's not actually that bad, what about all those other fucking people, right? Let's not forget that we just straight up massacred all those other shadows because obviously, why wouldn't you? So why the fuck aren't you just killing Shadowmio right now anyway? Right? It's like, whatever. I guess we'll see in the next episode. But until then, I shall bid you, ladies and gentlemen, a fare thee well.